what was yours? Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just yet another. Well, this was a more controlled setting, which was good.
Like in a studio?
Yeah, like in an interior.
Inside.
Get more into detail about where this interior was.
Okay, sure. I mean, we were shooting at my parents' apartment building.
Love it. Great.
And so, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Basically, we needed a space where we could just be able to achieve this shot where the inspiration was Andrea wrote a story called Holy Ho.
Yes.
And this is one of the fiction stories in the book. And in that story, she talks about, it's kind of like a reference to Carrie.
Yeah.
So she dresses up as Carrie and she uses strawberry Nesquik as the blood that's poured on Carrie, which actually another bedpost fun fact. Andrea performed that at
the
Bedpost.
first one I performed at.
Yeah. Before the original story we were talking about, you did this fictional monologue in which you had like a silk white nightgown.
Negligee.
And your negligee. And you did this Holy Ho monologue. And then you invited guests of the show to come up and pour strawberry Nesquik all over you, which
Right.
I had the pleasure of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you did.
How did it feel?
I was like, because we had talked about the cleanup after that. So mostly I was like, oh God, how the F is she going to get this out of her hair? Like,
Yeah.
like this is just pure sugar.
a great
The whole
question.
time while I was doing it, I was like, I'm so sorry. I know this is going to be hell. Like 20 minutes. When you're gonna... How did you?
Gave myself a little bird bath in the basement of the Black Swan.
Yeah, the sink of like that.
That's
yeah.
glamour.
Yeah, it's like concrete room, just like spray my. No
That's
shower.
showbiz, baby.
Yeah. Show must go on. So you were doing a shoot inspired by this story and by
Exactly.
this performance art piece.
Right.
That we did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we wanted to just like have a little bit of an additional twist on Carrie. So for one thing, we made Andrea look as Kardashian-like as possible. So like she had her hair really straight and like the perfect Kim Kardashian lashes, Kim Kardashian like pout, nude, everything.
Yeah.
So she was Carrie Kardashian as her character. And then we wanted to have that twist on what the liquid was going to be. So in this case, we did cum. A whole lot of cum.
Actual cum.
Well, this is the question. Why I was thinking it was memorable is honestly we get this question so much, like about
Yeah, what
this
was
photo,
it?
like
What was it?
how did we make it?
What is it?
'Cause, yeah, the shot. Like I mean, there's two shots in the book. One is the before
And
shot,
you're just covered.
and then the after shot. Yeah, she's totally like
just
completely covered.
So the mixture is trade secret: cornstarch, water, and egg white.
Ew.
Lovingly stirred by my boyfriend on the stove.
Oh,
On my
sweetheart.
parents' stove. Yeah. So like,
And then what? And then what? Like drizzled
and then
with the
Nicole
spoon?
had the
What?
best time pouring it all over me.
that makes me sound so sadistic. I was
It
just
felt
trying.
sadistic.
Okay. Full disclosure: Andrea was
I
not
felt
loving
sadist.
it. She wasn't loving it.
No.
No, she's getting it in my mouth and telling me to take it
You know what?
for the art.
I did mention that I felt it was important that some of it was on your mouth. Just artistically, I'm sorry. Like,
The things we do for art.
yeah.
Things we do.
But you know what? Andrea was a champ. The photos are stunning.
crazy.
And it's something we talk about too, is like how it's interesting to us how controversial and like, you know, eyebrow raising those photos are, considering that they're just of her face
Yes.
and like no actual nudity. But
Yeah,
they're-
like that one, the closer at the end where I'm like with
Yeah.
a big smile on my face, like more, I want more bukkake. Like,
Yeah.
Just that, yeah, just
Just
that
that
is
face
so
shot.
offensive in a way,
Yeah.
right? Like because of its connotations, but there's no nudity in it.
And
it's
there's
just
no cum in
cornstarch.
it. And there's
Yeah.
and there's no other person in this scene even.
Yeah.
Like it is literally your face with cornstarch, egg white, and water on it.
So we blew that photo up and we have it framed and
Yes.
we've put it on display in a few places. And the visceral reaction it gets is so fascinating to watch.
That's very interesting.
And also because like Nicole and I can kind of stand in the corner of a room and watch people react to it because people don't recognize me as the girl in the photo.
yeah.
And when
Your visage is blurred a little bit. It's
it's a little cummed out. And like we've had some really interesting interactions with people when it's been on display.
yeah.
And some people, like if we do presentations and we have that photo up for a prolonged period of time, we've had people in the audience be like, "Can you please change that photo?
Wow.
Can you? I can't look at it anymore."
Wow.
So it's a very it's an interesting one. And also I'd like to add that the background for that photo was made lovingly by Nicole's mom.
Oh, so
this
that
is like-
blue backdrop, right? With
Yeah, she
stars or
made
something?
it.
Yeah, it literally is based on like the scene from Carrie where she's being crowned as prom queen. And
Genius.
yeah.
Did your mom know what it was going to be used for?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. We also have a saying we like to say, which is moms love modern horror. But specifically our moms.
Our moms love modern horror.
My mom loves modern horror. Did you see, did I not send you that picture of my mom? Because when I first finally got into reading the book, I was up at my parents' place.
Oh, shit.
So, and I brought it and showed it to her, obviously, because I talk about the two of you. I work with you guys like on a fairly regular basis. She totally knows who you are, and I'm like, this is the book finally. Oh my god! And she gets up a lot earlier than I do, so I was like, I'm gonna just gonna leave this here, before I go to bed, and you do with it what you will, in the morning, like while I'm sleeping. And every morning that I came out, she'd be reading it.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
I'm like,
Moms love modern horror.
Moms love
This is
modern horror.
amazing.
We definitely want to make a moms love modern horror shirt.
I love that. Oh, like a fan mom shirt.
Fan mom. I want a fan mom fan club.
Oh my god. Okay. So from you talking about that kind of visceral reaction to that image,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good segue to talk about. We kind of wanted to speak about some of the common misconceptions of sex workers, because I feel like there are a lot.
And I also I find it interesting to answer this question after I watched like Showgirls for the first time yesterday. I only watched the first half. But I realized like this is where so many stereotypes come from.
Oh, media. Yes.
Yeah. Well, also because I was watching with Andrea, and that's a film that I had watched and thought was like campy and pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, I kept looking over at her during the film, and you were not happy.
To read her on it.
You were
Yeah.
not happy.
I was just kind of upset.
Yeah.
I get the cult following. I get that it's like a funny film, but it perpetuates so many harmful stereotypes.
Yeah.
And as someone who has worked in
That industry.
the industry, it's like, wow, okay, this is people's reference point.
Yes.
I forgot.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to look at the media people consume that perpetuate the stereotypes. Like, all sex workers are broken people who are victims of some sort of abuse in their lives, and then it forces them to do this labor that further victimizes them. I hate that idea. I hate the idea that all sex workers need to be saved, or that like I don't know, that sex workers aren't capable of doing anything else and that's why they do it.
that it's like their rock bottom choice,
Yeah.
or not even a choice.
Or that like sex workers just don't have an interior life. They don't have their own motivations. They're sort of like floating around. They don't really know what they want. And they're all just kind of fucking idiots, basically. Like that's what I know, like it's supposed to be a campy movie, but I could just feel myself being like a little bit, I felt my back coming up a bit because I was realizing like, oh man, this is harmful. This
Yeah.
is harmful stuff to put out into the world, where sex workers, like it's so clearly written by a man
Yes.
and directed by a man, and a man that has no idea how women talk to each other, let alone sex workers. So
Where did they get off, like making a movie like that with knowing absolutely nothing about anything? Like, How does one?
It's just for the titillation factor. It's because sex sells. It's because, like, you know, you go the most exploitative route, and it's
shocking.
It's shocking to people that have no experience talking to sex workers directly.
Yeah.
So it has the opposite effect of humanizing sex workers. It further isolates them and further dehumanizes this entire group of people.
Yeah. When in reality, in your experience, sex workers are more like what?
Entrepreneurial, intelligent, savvy multitaskers who have a lot of things going on in their life, and a lot of people that they perhaps support with the income that they get. They're in sex work because it provides a flexible means of making money for them. They can often set their own rates, and it's a way for them to be their own boss. And there are a lot more people who engage in sex work, consensual sex work, obviously, than people realize. They just don't realize that there are people who choose that form of labor.
Yeah.
They think that everyone's been forced into it, and that it could be further from the truth. And the more that I research and read and listen to people who are also sex workers or have that experience, the more I realize, like, there's a deliberate attempt to silence people who have chosen this labor. This is just, you know, by claiming that we're all victims, it is an erasure of our autonomy and our existence, and basically a way to criminalize us further and to throw us in jail. And so,
But I second all that. I mean, I know you quite well, and I know a lot of sex workers, and they're all like badass bitches. And I realize, you know, maybe just in my group, I might be getting, like, you know, not the entire picture of sex work either. I realize that.